Well, we told you earlier about the feud between the White House and late-night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel. Kimmel played a clip of Vice President Pence delivering protective supplies to an area senior center and mocked the vice president for supposedly carrying empty boxes. But guess what? The vice president had made a joke about the boxes being empty, which was obvious to anyone who had actually watched the entire 29-minute video. So Kimmel then tweeted this apology, if you want to call it that. Quote, "It would appear the vice president was joking about carrying empty boxes for a staged publicity stunt. The full video reveals he was carrying full boxes for a publicity stunt. My apologies. I know how dearly this administration values truth." You know, a lot of folks were angry and didn't buy his apology. Some said a Twitter apology was not good enough, demanding he do an on-air apology, which he did. Kimmel says he and his family received death threats, so he addressed it on air. Take a listen.
Okay, you know what? It was my mistake. I do apologize to the vice president, again, for spreading misinformation about him. Spreading misinformation is their thing, and I stepped on their toes.
You know, Sean, a lot of times comedians are given a lot of slack, but do you think that he took it too far?
In this case, yes. We all make mistakes, and when we do, we should apologize, but make it a real apology. And I think doing a faux apology does a disservice to the whole thing. The vice president did the right thing. He was out there bringing protective equipment to this area senior home to make sure that they had it, and he should be applauded for that. Jimmy can be funny. I've seen it. He's a funny guy, but he should stick to being funny. More humor, less politics. And if you don't like it, you should change the channel or turn it off. Heck, tweet at him for all I care. But here's the thing. Don't threaten him, don't threaten his kids, and don't threaten his family. Violence and threats of violence are never acceptable, ever. We have to stop this third grade mentality that he started it, you did it first. The pettiness just needs to stop. During this time that we're all being challenged and stressed out, we need humor. We need to laugh. It's been stressful for so many people, and a good laugh can be really helpful. Everything doesn't have to be about politics, but when it is about politics, it doesn't need to always be personal, and it never, never needs to resort to violence or threats of violence.
I couldn't agree more. You said that very well. And I think it kind of shows where we are as a nation when people are upset with something someone's saying, whether it was supposed to be funny, whatever it may be, and now they resort to threatening someone's lives, their kids' lives, their wife's life. I mean, this is unnecessary. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, it really, to your point, it's never okay. And I think it's really important that people like you rise up and say that, because people are resorting to that, and it is kind of scary at times.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things. One is we're all responsible for ourselves. I'm so tired of saying, well, you support this guy and you support that guy until they stop. Well, the only thing that we're ultimately responsible is for what we ourselves say and do. And so that's where I think it all starts. But the second thing is, as I mentioned, I don't think everything needs to be political. And it certainly doesn't need to be threatening, because what happens is at some point people do wonder how far somebody's going to take it. And that shouldn't be something that's in the back of your mind going, do I have to worry about my personal safety, my kids' safety, my spouse's safety? This is getting way too far. And I think it goes for everyone. Just if you want to fight it out about politics and policy, focus on that. It doesn't need to be personal every time.
Yeah, you make a great point. It doesn't need to be personal. And I think one of the things that I've always felt like made America a beautiful place is our differences and the civility that we can have talking about our differences. And you can have friends across the aisle and you can disagree all day long and even have a heated conversation about it, even if you're joking, and walk away friends still. And it seems like a lot of the times we're past that now, where people say, well, if you disagree with me or you make a fun of someone that I like, all of a sudden now you're the enemy. We have to stop this, like you're saying. It's very much of a third grade mentality. It's very petty.
Well, it's also a lack of respect. I am who I am politically. I've been very clear about my politics, but I respect the folks on the other side. I don't agree with them. I think they're wrong. But I actually think that you need to have respect and accept that there are people who have differing views. But getting back to what I said a moment ago, I mean, we've let politics permeate into every aspect of our lives. We go to a concert, they got to talk about politics. We turn on a late night show, it's got to be about politics. We watch an award show, it's not about the awards, it's not about the show, it's about politics. There's a point that we can do it. We all have the ability and the free speech to do it. And there's a place and time for it, but every conversation and every function and venue doesn't need to be about politics.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think not only because it has become divisive on both sides of the aisle, but each side needs to encourage each other, and I think call it out like you're doing, whether if it's someone, just because they're on the side of the aisle, if they're doing something right, call it out and encourage it. You don't have to not call it out or make it a negative thing. It's really important to be having these conversations and for people to realize it has gone too far.
And I think when we screw up, and this is the thing, if you mean it, if you apologize and you mean it, just say, hey, I'm sorry it went too far. You don't have to then take a second swipe at somebody and say, well, but this is what, I mean, it's like just apologize and move on. Yeah. This idea that you have to apologize but then say, but you're really still a jerk, isn't a real apology.
Yeah, that's true. Humble yourself.
That's right.
All right. Well, as states plan to reopen, one pastor is opening his church early, and he will share his plans next. Plus, NASCAR returns this weekend, minus the fans, and we have a special driver joining us. He's going to share his details about the weekend coming up.